What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to CRTV Reviews. We are back at it again, reviewing Selena, the series. I think this is one of the most anticipated series of this year, and we finally got it. It is, of course, about Selena Quintanilla and her rise to fame, a coming-of-age story. I mean, we all know who she is. If you don't, I don't know where you've been at. Now, this is only season 1. We have another season coming. We got 9 episodes, about 40 minutes each, and it starts off in the 70s. All the way to about the late 80s. Now, in the beginning of the series, we do have a lot of time jumping. Now, time jump is not necessarily a bad thing, but although I did find myself forgetting like what year I was in, and the things that stuck out to me, which I'm going to point out in this video, have a lot to do with the reason that Selena's parents and her sister were producers on this show. To me, it felt like the first half of the season was more focused on Abraham, Selena's dad, because it's just mostly showing how he struggled financially, and after discovering Selena's talent and getting the band together with his family, how he just struggles to play at getting all these low paying gigs, how they just play at their own restaurant, the old restaurant they used to own, how they play at small parties, small weddings, how he's trying to get all these record deals. Now, we don't actually start seeing a little bit more of Selena until probably the second half of the season. But in that second half is more about the struggles with the future record labels that they signed with. The only two things that we get in the second half about Selena is really just about the fact that she didn't feel like she was able to be herself because some record label that she signed with was trying to get her to dress a certain way. The production that handled her photo shoot, they were telling her what to wear, all the outfits, the setting, and it wasn't her. Nobody was liking it. And that's the only thing that we saw that was like a personal issue from Selena. And the other thing was, of course, her relationship with Chris Perez, of how it was sort of becoming a distraction for her and her family, but she felt like she just has to be with him, but on the low, they can't really put themselves out there because of their dad. But that relationship had like no lead up. There was no lead up to how they fell in love. I feel like this guy was just placed there, and it was just like, okay, this is Chris. They just gave each other's looks, exchanged a few words, and next thing you know, they're saying, oh, I miss you, I love you. And so I feel like there was no lead up to that, to how that actually started, and which makes sense because Chris Perez, the actual Chris Perez, apparently wasn't a producer himself. I mean, from what I've heard, that he wasn't even told, Selena's parents didn't even tell him to be part of this thing. So it makes sense that we don't really get that credibility from their relationship. Therefore, it points out to also why the beginning is really so much focused on Abraham, because it's pretty much Selena's parents, her dad telling the story here. So it's really a lot about him in the beginning. I feel like we get more personal details, more about AB, her brother, and her sister Suzette. Now, since this is a coming of age and a rise to fame story, we really see more of a struggle on AB, on her brother, because he's in charge of producing, he's in charge of writing the songs. He has to come up with all these songs at a certain deadlines in order to make these record labels, in order to meet these deadlines and hit platinum records. We got to get these deals, in order to really propel the whole group up there. So he feels a lot of pressure, and at the same time, he's dealing with his family. He has a kid, he has a wife at home. He ends up finding himself putting more time and writing all these songs and spending time with his family. It really gets him, and it really shows that because he starts releasing all that through anger. He starts exploding on people, even though he doesn't mean it. So I feel like I get more of a personal connection with AB rather than Selena herself. I'm not saying that we shouldn't see nothing of AB, because their family does play a huge part of Selena's life. But if this is about Selena, then we want to see more about how this affected Selena. The only thing that we see that affected her is just how she just didn't get to dress the way she wanted to, and the fact that she really couldn't be with Chris, in public and out in the open with her family. That to me was a disappointment, because I felt more of a connection with other characters than Selena herself. Kristen Sarah's performance was great. I'm not hating on her. I mean, I know that there's probably some fans, a lot of the fans that grew up with the 90s Selena movie are probably just hating on her. They were hating on her, since the trailer came out. And I liked her performance. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do have a hard time. I did have a hard time watching it, you know, just because of her looks, because she doesn't really look like Selena that much. It was hard for me to see that, but I had to watch it, you know, just looking at her performance, which I think was great. In order to watch this series, if you saw the movie, you have to get the Selena movie out of your head as much as possible. You got to get J-Lo out of your head as much as possible, because if you just have J-Lo in your mind, if you have the movie, you're just going to be comparing it the whole entire way. And you can't do that. You're going to be comparing Christian Sorrells to J-Lo, and we're not in this. If you're gonna watch the series, then you can't be comparing looks. We're not gonna compare about whose booty was bigger, whose body was better, because we're not going for the looks. It all comes down to the acting, to the script. And Sorrells was great, but the only flaw is just the appearance of her. There was some wigs throughout some episodes. You know, obviously she had to have different wigs to show, because she always changed her hair, and as she grew up, she was always changing her hair. Some of the wigs didn't really look that natural to me, but some did. I think the only one that really just worked was like kind of like that crazy poofy curly hair type of thing that she had going on, as well as when her hair was in like a bun. But other than that, some of the other wigs kind of just didn't work for me. Didn't really work for her, like the whole Selena look. That being said, I think this series just really leaves us with a question. Was it necessary? Was it necessary to make this series? Was it necessary to make this series as long as it's gonna be? I mean, we're only in part 1. This is only season 1. A lot of things that happened early in the first episode, I think, could have been summarized and just made either time lapse maybe a little bit more, or just make them more a little bit tighter and just pack just a little bit more info. I don't think it needed to be stretched out as much as they were. Maybe they could even just made it one season, packed it all in one season, because there's only really so much that we can get when it comes to Selena's feelings, when it comes to Selena's personality, like who she was on the inside, not the star that we saw on stage, because we know what we can get of her iconic moments on stage, which we have seen. I mean, the movie pretty much just gave us that. We know that we can get some tough moments when it came to her parents or her sister's brother being involved, because they were there. But when it comes to the most intimate moments, like I said in my trailer review, I'm not gonna get that much info, or nonetheless the true info, because I say true because Chris Perez is not even part of this thing as far as I know. So I don't think we're really gonna know what really went on when it came to just Selena and Chris. If I gotta give them credit on something, is that they just gave really more detailed background information of the family, because we see more of AB and Abraham. We see more background family information, which is important. I'm not saying that it's not, but we see a lot of it. I think a little bit too much, where it's kind of taken away from Selena in the very first episodes. And we see more of the formation of Los Dinos, of how these new band members started coming in, which that's one thing that I really like, because we didn't see that at all. We don't really know much about the members that are not her family, but we got to see a little bit more in the series, which I really like, because some of these members end up leaving because they have their own thing going on, too much family issues, too much personal issues, and their exit ends up affecting the family, ends up affecting the band, which their personal issues, them leaving, makes it feel like they are actually important. They actually played a huge role in this band. But there's not much left of pretty much what we already know, and I feel like they're just gonna stretch it all out like they did with this one, which I don't think is necessary. But what do you think is gonna happen? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think this was necessary? What do you think is gonna happen in season 2? What did you think about season 1? Was all this necessary? Do you think it could have been shorter? Let me know. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash the like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. I will appreciate your support. Turn your post notifications on so you won't miss none of my videos. I know I look tired as hell right now. I'm about to go to sleep. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.